Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustments meeting for this Wednesday, October the 29th. And I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustments is being held in person in Council Chambers at Ajax Town Hall and is also being live streamed for public viewing on the internet pursuant to the Committee of Adjustments terms of reference and meeting procedures. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they're resolved. I thank you in advance for your patience and will now proceed with the meeting. For those of us joining us in person this evening, if you haven't already done so, when you do come up to the podium to speak, there is a sign-up sheet there. I'll ask you to just fill that in. I think there's a pen there as well. And please also include your email address when you're completing so we can forward the minutes of the meeting to you as well. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas, more specifically the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous people. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation and as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. Before we move further with the agenda portion of today's meeting, I'd like to confirm whether there's any disclosures of interest from any committee members today. Okay, so seeing none. Then next I'll look for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from last month's meeting. Okay, Bernadette, I see you as first, and seconded by Amanda. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, then I'll look for a vote. And the vote has been carried. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. Terribly sorry about that. I'll now quickly cover off the mandate of the Committee of Adjustments. The Committee of Adjustment here derives its jurisdiction and authority from the Planning Act. The committee is responsible for considering applications which seek to authorize the following: any minor variances from the provisions of the town zoning bylaw, extensions, enlargements, or variations of the legal non-conforming use of any land, building, or structure, permitting the use of any land, building, or structure for any purposes that, in the opinion of the committee, conforms within the provisions of the zoning bylaw, where the uses permitted in the zoning bylaw are defined only in general terms, consent to sever a new lot from an existing lot, consent to alter the existing boundaries of a lot, such as lot additions and lot line adjustments, consent to register rights of way and easements over land, consent to sell, mortgage, charge, or enter into any agreement for more than 21 years for a portion of land, and validation of land title when there has been an error in the description of the land. When considering minor variances, the committee is to assess whether the general intent and purpose of both the Town of Ajax official plan and the zoning bylaw are being maintained. The proposal is desirable for the appropriate development and/or use of the subject land, building, or structure, and the variance is minor in nature. When considering consents, the committee must also ensure proposals conform to the region of Durham and the Town of Ajax official plans and have regard to the matters outlined under the Planning Act. Excuse me. In all scenarios, the committee must ensure consistency where the in effect provincial policy statements and conformity with the in effect provincial plans. The procedure for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant and/or agent will be called upon, and they will be asked to provide a brief description of the minor variance and/or consent application that they have applied for. The committee members in front of you here may ask questions of the applicant and/or agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will, however, be no further input from the applicant or the agent or anyone else having interest in the application. After a decision is made, a notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. The decision of the committee may be appealed to the Ontario Line Tribunal, or the OLT, by the applicant or a specific person or public body, as outlined in the Planning Act. Please note that third-party appeals, i.e. appeals from neighboring landowners or members of the public, are not permitted at this time. The decision will become final and binding if no appeals are received during that 20-day appeal period. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, no permits or approvals will be issued until the appeal period is over and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present and at all times. Let me now take a moment to introduce you to the committee members presiding over the procedures this evening. To my furthest right is Bernadette Santiago, Ken Elliott, Amanda Dunn, Tomas Baca. I'm the chair of the committee, Wasif Ahmed. To my left is town AV staff, followed by our senior planner in Eric Simpson and Henry Singh, who's also a planner with the town of Ajax. And now I'd like to proceed with today's applications. And the first application, you'll see for those of you that are either seeing the screen share or the agenda. Actually, if we can just go back to the agenda for a second. So there are two applications on the agenda this evening. There's application A3025 for 4 Barnes Drive, and another one for A3125, which is marked as B at the bottom there, and that is for the civic address of 6 Mortlock Street. I'd like to propose, just based on an amount of correspondence that we've received, if I'd like to put a motion on the table to see if we can switch the two applications and do A3125 first for 6 Mortlock, and then do 4 Barnes Drive. Can I get a seconder on that motion? Amanda, any discussion on that motion? Okay, seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. Don't need to? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so that being said, then the first application we'll review will be for 6 Mortlock. And do we have either the applicant or agent present here?
Agent Bhaskar Joshi from Out of the Box present here.
Okay, perfect. Good evening to you, Mr. Joshi. So, Mr. Joshi, we here at the committee, as you may see on the screen share, have a report that was prepared for the committee by the Town of Ajax planning staff, and it does recommend approval of the application as long as there are 6 conditions that are met. And the 6 conditions are, very quickly, that the subject variance applies only to the property municipally known as 6 Mortlock, substantially in accordance with the drawings that are submitted with this application, that an unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the uncovered steps be maintained at all times on the subject property. Number 3, that the unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the rear yard be maintained at all times on the subject property, that any existing utilities be relocated as necessary in consultation with the applicable utility agencies and the town to a location that does not impede access to or from the uncovered steps, that the owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town, and contravening any one of these conditions will render the decision null and void. Are you familiar with these conditions, and are you comfortable in accepting those, Mr. Joshi?
Yes, we are okay with this all the conditions, and we are comfortable with that.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll hand over the floor to you to tell us a little bit about the project. So I'll get you to just tell us a little bit about the project, Mr. Joshi.
Sure. So as you can see in the site plan, we are proposing a below grade entrance made of 3-step on right hand side of the property. It's like each side yard to the each side yard, and to the nature of relief is to permit a set of uncovered step in the required interior east side yard to encroach up to 0.2 meter from the each interior side lot line. So this below grade entrance has a 3-step down and 3-step up, which allow homeowner to access backyard, as well as this new landing and door will allow entrance to the legal rental apartment, which need to propose in the new building permit. The current condition of the basement is unfinished, and after getting these minor variants, we will ready to put the permit for the rental apartment. That will create the like a new rental apartment in the basement. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Before I look to committee to see if there's any questions for Mr. Joshi, can I just confirm with town staff whether notice was served on this application and whether any correspondence was received?
Mr. Chair, notice was served and no correspondence was received.
Okay, thank you. Look to committee members for any questions. Bernadette?
Through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps I can hear from the applicant whether or not, I guess, how will you ensure proper storm water drainage around the below grade entrance to prevent pooling and water infiltration, considering that you're quite close to your neighbor, and just want to make sure that that's taking into account going forward as you work your plans out.
Sure. Through chair, I can answer that. There is a 0.2 meter of the setback is still there. However, this new below grade entrance will be 6 inch higher than the grading, which will stop the water to go inside the below grade entrance, and the water could be drainage on the side of the below grade entrance.
Okay, you're okay, Bert. Ken?
Through you, Mr. Chair, is it intended that there will be a light above the door at the side entrance? And is there a plan for snow removal?
Yes, as per the building code requirement, when we propose a new side door, they have to have a new light, which could be done on and off by the light switch or sensor, but it has to have a light when there is a new side door proposed. For the removal of the snow, it will be same like a homeowner removing the snow on a side yard, because it's accessible on both sides. And it's only 3-step down, only 3-step.
Okay. Ken, you had a follow-up?
I did, through you, Mr. Chair. Will the light have some kind of a reflector on it so that it does not cast a shadow on the neighbor's property, which has windows in the side yard?
If you put a note, then we can enhance this requirement on it. Generally, building code doesn't require, but if we put a note, then we will make sure we put a light with like only light down, not on a side.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for, Mr. Joshi. It's just that If you could take that note yourself and pass that along to the owner, that light should have, or some kind of a mechanism for it to be pointing down, as the neighboring property does have a window there on the side.
Sure, I can put that note also on a drawing when I prepare for building permit.
Great idea. Thank you. Any other questions from committee? Bernadette?
Just one more through you, Mr. Chair. If you could just, if the agent could just confirm that the pedestrian pathways, the to and from the steps in the rear yard will remain unobstructed by landscaping or whatever it may be. I understand that utilities will need to be moved. I just want to make sure that there's access, easy access to and from the rear yard.
Yes, there is, as per my knowledge, there is no utility attached on this area which need to be removed, and we are okay with that. No utility coming in this area is on other side, and let me understand if I understand your question correctly. Going through and coming back, as there is only 3 steps, it's easy accessible. Or can you repeat your question so I can explain it?
Yeah, if I may. Town staff, can you just put figure 3 up, next page? Yeah. So, Mr. Joshi, if you can see the screen share, this is where committee member Santiago is talking about the access, right? So these, and they were read at the beginning of the application portion as well. There is a condition formally in the report that is asking for these to be moved.
Okay, sorry, I mix up 2 property. So homeowner knows about it and he's ready and willing to move this gas utility on the front side.
Okay, onto the other side, so on the west side. And then to my colleague's question, and it is also a condition, I think it's condition number 3, that there will be pedestrian path accessible all the way to the backyard.
Yes, that will be, yes. Because that's why we're making both side step, going down and then bringing up on a backyard.
Okay, all right. Any other questions from committee members? All right. Thank you, Mr. Joshi. I'd now like to check to see whether there's anybody here to speak either for or against this application. We're again on application A3125 for 6 Mortlock Street. Anybody in person? Okay. Anybody online? No? All right. Then I'll look for a motion from committee members. Tomas?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve application A31-25, subject to all staff conditions on the basis that it is minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay, motion heard, motion noted, seconded by Ken. Any discussion on the motion as presented? Okay, seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. And the vote has been carried unanimously. So, Mr. Joshi, this decision will now be up for the 20-day appeal period. And again, if you do have any applications or site permits to put in the paperwork with the town staff, you can do that. And it's just that we will not, nothing will be approved until the 20-day appeal period lapses.
Thank you, Chair and members.
Okay, thank you. Have yourself a good evening. All right, we'll now move to our next application, which is application A3025 for 4 Barnes Drive. And this application is seeking to permit a maximum aggregate ground floor area of 83 square meters and a maximum lot coverage of 12% for all accessory buildings and structure. It's also seeking to permit a minimum length of 5.5 meters for parking spaces within a private garage. Also seeking to permit 40% of the aggregate area of the side yards and rear yard to be occupied by parking spaces, and seeking to permit maximum setback from the front lot line of 15 meters, permitting maximum private garage width of 11 meters, and permitting a dwelling unit to be set back 10.5 meters from the front face of an adjacent dwelling unit, which fronts onto the same street. Check with town staff whether notice was served on this application.
Mr. Chair, notice was served and there was correspondence received, which was provided to the committee.
And I can confirm on behalf of the committee that we have received, I believe, 4 pieces of correspondence. All right, is the applicant or agent here for this application?
Good evening, member of the committee. My name is Vijay Patel from the SP Consultants.
Okay, good evening to you, Mr. Patel. So, Mr. Patel, as you may be seeing on your screen, the committee here does have a report prepared by town planning staff that does recommend approval of this application, subject to the following conditions: that the subject variance only applies to 4 barns and in accordance with the drawings that were submitted with this application, that the owner applicant obtain consent from the abutting property owners for any impacts to the existing trees located on the abutting properties, that the owner applicant therefore shall provide such consent to the town prior to the issuance of any building permit, that the owner applicant preserve and protect any existing trees located within the town boulevard, which is the Barnes Drive right-of-way. The owner applicant should also address this matter to the satisfaction of the town prior to the issuance of any building permit, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary permits from the Ministry of Transportation, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town. Contravening any of these 5 conditions will render the decision that is made here today null and void. Are you comfortable and a full understanding of these conditions, Mr. Patel?
Yes, we are.
Okay, then I'll hand over the floor to you, and perhaps you can tell the committee a little bit about your project.
Yeah, I would like to share my screen if you guys give me the permission.
Sorry, I think you cut off there at the end, at least for me. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen.
Oh, okay, I got you. Sorry.
Yeah.
We just see a black screen right now, so just make sure you share your settings. There we go.
Let
But we-
me know if you guys can see and
But we see us.
oh, I'm so sorry.
There we go.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm representing TT9 Incorporation regarding the property at 4 Barnes Drive in the Ajax. Today I'll walk you through on our proposal and the variances are requested and how we are going to address the community concerns. So this is the site location of the subject property. It is currently a vacant lot and our intent is to develop it into the 4-unit residential property aligned with the town's housing and intensification goals. This plan shows the proposed building a 3-story house with 3 residential units. The footprint measures around 134 square meters. As we prepared the layouts, our aim was to create homes large enough for the families compared to the small apartment style units. We want residents to feel like they own the true home with the access to the outdoor space, green space, and the secure garage parking. In the addition, we proposed an accessory dwelling unit above the 3-car garage, providing a 1 additional unit. This ADU has a 77 square meter of the footprint. In total, the property will accommodate the 4 units. Each unit is designed for the 2 or 3 bedroom home, and everybody, like each unit, has their own parking space. Okay. This elevation shows the main 3-story house. The elevation is designed with the materials that blend easily into the streetscape. Our intent is to give the look and feel of a home and not a large building, so that it fits seamlessly into the neighborhood characters. This elevation shows the secondary structure on the ground floor. We are providing 3 parking spots for the car, and on the first floor we have planned the unit 4. This creates efficient use of the space while minimizing the building footprint.
Can you just go up,
We
sorry, Mr. Patel,
Yeah.
can you just go up one more slide?
Yeah.
Up one more. Just wanted to see the full building as well. Just before you go on, so just to confirm, so the building itself plus the garage with the unit above it will all be a flat roof, correct? That's what I'm seeing in
Yeah.
the pictures.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Please continue.
Yeah. So we are seeking approval for the following variances. So front yard setback required is 7.5 meter and we are proposing 15 meter. Second one is setback from the adjacent dwelling required is 3 meter and we are proposing 8.7 meter. And the third one is parking area or driveway coverage allowed 30% and we are proposing 40%. These adjustments result from the unique of the lot configuration rather than the overdevelopment. To help visualize this, I have included the lot plan here to demonstrate how the lot shape has influenced these variances. The site is a pie-shaped lot. It's a narrow frontage creates the challenge meeting all the setback requirements while still providing the sufficient driveway width. Because the house is pushed further back, the rear yard landscaping area is reduced. However, overall the property still provides the good green space. We are also requesting approval for the following variances. Garage width allowed 3.3 meter and we are proposing 11 meter. Garage or ADU area allow 60 square meter and we are proposing 83 square meter. Parking space dimensions required 2.5 meter by 6.5 meter and we are providing 2.5 meter by 5.5 meter. The intent of the wider garage is to provide a covered parking space for the 3 cars. If we were to place the ADU at the grade, it would consume more load space and reduce the available green space. By building the ADUs above the garage, we minimize the footprint impact and preserve the landscaping. Regarding garage width, the zoning allows only 10 feet, which is like wide enough for the single car, making it impracticable to meet in this case. For parking stall length, although we propose 5.5 meter instead of 6.5 meter, this still accommodates the standard vehicle safety and efficiency. We would like to addressing neighbors' concerns. So first one is the privacy. We understand the concern about the privacy. Our design does not add any new windows on the side facing side, like on the neighbor side. The balcony is similar in impact to the existing 2-story homes in the neighborhood, which already have backyard windows. Another issue I can see is the drainage. Drainage is the valid concern, and we will submitting engineering drawings to the city to confirm that all water is managed on the property on site and will not run off on the neighbor's property. Third one is the parking. We have heard the concern about the street parking. Our proposal provides the required number of parking space for the each unit as per the zoning bylaw. So no additional pressure will be placed on the street parking. Last one is the noise and construction. Construction can be very disruptive and we recognize that our client will follow all the city's regulation for the construction timing and noise and will take steps to minimize the impact on the neighbors. In addition, the client is also planning to use a modular factory assembled building. This approach not only reduces the duration on site construction, but also significantly lowers the impact on the surrounding neighborhoods by minimizing the noise and shortening the timeline. The project delivers 4 much needed housing units, directly supporting the Ajax goal for the intensification and housing diversity. The variances are minor, technical, and primarily due to the lot shape, not overbuilding. Our design provides safe access, parking, landscaping space, while respecting the neighborhood character. In conclusion, the proposal meets the intent of the zoning bylaw and official plan, make it both reasonable and desirable. We respectfully ask for your support and approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Patel. Appreciate your presentation. I'll look for the committee to see if they have any questions for the agent. Ken?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I wonder if they could put up Figure 2 site plan.
Yeah.
Make it a little bigger.
This one?
I guess we're sharing his screen, right?
No, this is our screen.
Okay.
Yeah, can we zoom in near the top?
So for the main building on the left side, it looks like there is a label that says Unit 1 entry, and it's to the south. and then there's Unit 1 entry to the left. Is that actually a balcony or like I see the balcony for Unit 2, but is that where the balcony is for Unit 3? And is there a second entrance? Just looking for the label.
So Unit 2 has a two balcony. One is on the left side, one is on the rear side. And Unit 3 has a one balcony on the rear side only.
Through the chair, Ken, the balcony you've asked about is where my cursor is pointing to right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Amanda?
The garage in the rear, the 3 parking spaces within the garage, will they be fully enclosed individually per parking space within the garage, or would they be open within the garage?
So we would like to open it because it's easy to like open the doors. And also if we are separating that, like we have to provide the fire ratings between each parking spots, which is like reducing more space due to wall thickness and stuff. So we like to open that.
Okay. Any other questions from committee? Bernadette?
Through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps the applicants can speak to what, if any, architectural treatments or designs are being contemplated so that the use of the accessory building, for the accessory building, to ensure that there's a level of compatibility with the principal triplex as well as the surrounding neighborhood. I can appreciate that this structure, as noted in the diagrams in our package, is very different looking than your neighbors. And so I'd like to hear from the applicant what considerations are being made as part of that, I guess, consideration for the respectfulness of the neighborhood and in keeping with the neighborhood and those that surround this particular property.
Yeah, so definitely we consider that when we started, and we see that like all the buildings around are 2-story, and definitely to provide the 3-story building, we have to use the flat roof, and otherwise we would love to use the gable roof, but then we can't meet the overall height restriction. So that's the house. And for the garage dwelling, we are almost meeting all the zoning bylaws. 3 or 4 zoning bylaws that we are not meeting, that's due to the pie shape note basically. We are also using the natural stone or like veneer stone up to the eye level and separating the 3rd floor so it's not look like a huge building from the street.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that addresses my first question. I do have a second question if
Please.
my colleagues will allow it.
Yeah, go
I actually want to turn our minds to the ADU that's being proposed at the back of the principal building. And perhaps maybe we can go to page 12 where we were just looking at that diagram, and it might be a situation where town staff may need to assist. But I'd like to hear from the applicant about the additional dwelling unit in the accessory building and how that will be accessed and managed. I can appreciate, there's going to be a lot of residential use, so there'll be some folks coming in and out. And so if we could speak to the separate entrance, the parking allocation, which I know is noted in the report, as well as the waste collection. You could appreciate there could be X amount of people who may be living on top of that garage. And so when you populate an area, people are going to be using the facilities, such as they will have visitors, they will have X amount of garbage, et cetera. And so I'd like to hear from the applicant as if he could speak to that.
For the garbage, I feel that like we have sufficient extra space on the garage, so we can provide some space for the garbage. And for the temporary parking, like definitely they can park on the driveway, or they can use the public transportation. But that's our plan. and every unit has their own parking, so hopefully that's not the problem.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do have a third item. I just want to speak, and I recognize that this is captured in the report, but I do, for the purposes of the record, or for those folks who are in the audience, I do want to pose this question about confirmation of all the stormwater and drainage improvements, that this will obviously comply with the engineering's rating conditions. Obviously, we have a neighborhood that's been there for X amount of years. There are many folks that live on that street who have, the use of water and such. So I just want to make sure that things are draining properly, that there won't be excess pooling, that there won't be any consequences or repercussions for your neighbors.
Yeah, so we will make sure during the building permit application, we will provide the engineering drawings for the grading. And if it's required, we can provide the small retaining wall between our property line and the neighbor's property line. So it is definitely going to conform during that, before the building permit issued, basically.
Okay. So I had just a confession, I had a similar concern in terms of drainage. I don't know if you recall when Mr. Patel was presenting his slides about the flat roof, the question I asked, just because a gable will normally tend to just, based on its shape, obviously, have more snow falling and then more of a melt concern, whereas the flat roof would kind of withstand that and hold it in. So, and then travel down, just down the downspout, so.
Provided, Mr. Chair, through you, that there's proper, easements to go
Connection.
down and away
Yes.
from the property and not towards the neighbors, right?
Right,
It's going-
absolutely, the grading, absolutely, yep. Okay, any other questions from committee members? Okay, so seeing none, then I'll look to see if there's anybody here to either speak for or against the application. I'll get you to come up to the podium. Put you in the spotlight. There is a sign-in sheet there, if I can just get your name and contact information, so we can forward you the minutes as well. And I'll start with your name.
It's Wayne
Wayne.
Fulcher.
Okay,
And I'm one of the neighbors on that, adjacent to that property. I've been a resident of this subdivision since it was built, which was 30 years ago. It's a single-family subdivision. Most of the lots are 35 by 100-foot lots. So it's surprising to me that we're sitting here in council looking at a fourplex going in on a single-family lot. Having said that, I understand that there is, I guess, room for some because it is a fairly large lot, but the applicant has made this so that four family dwellings is on a single lot in our neighborhood. So my biggest concern, I guess, is how this even got approved, first of all, but after that, the biggest concern is even parking. We're looking at a regular-sized lot in a small subdivision here. Most people have at least one car. Quite often, families have two. Never mind snow removal, four-car, I'm not even sure about the garage size because the garage size must be fairly small that I don't even think somebody would have a truck, a pickup truck, to be able to get into that garage. Plus parking for the four people. Any visitors to that lot? Snow removal in the wintertime, I don't know where the snow, like how would you even remove this snow? So any visitors to this fourplex or 4 people, 4 different units, it's just going to compound the thing with parking all over the street all the time. And I just, as I said, it's a fourplex going on a residential street that has, I don't know, 20-foot lots in front of it or whatever for parking out in the street. How these people will have visitors, anybody that has more than one car, which seems to be, I don't know, standard nowadays, that most families have 2 cars, and how you can put that many car parking on a single lot that was originally designated for a single family house. I don't know how it got approved anyways. I'm amazed at how fast this whole process happened without any for sale sign. I know the person died without a will, and how it went through probate to be able to be approved, that this building would be approved on this residential street like this is beyond, I'm just amazed at this, how even it got approved, that we're at the part now that we're looking at just bylaws to maximize the size of the building just to enhance the builder's profits on this thing. I just don't know how the town of Ajax is even approved this thing. Well, I guess that's my main comment.
Okay. Maybe I'll, if it's okay with the committee, I'll touch on a couple of points, Wayne. One was in terms of parking. So there are, to your point, and as you saw, we all saw, right, from the drawings, there are 4 units. There are 4 parking spots. So there's 3 in the covered and 1 in the open to the far right that you see, that's shaded to near the middle of the property. That is the town's bylaw. The other thing, one of the things that we as committee members, and keep me honest here, guys, is we see applications all the time for condos, for building residences, whether it be low-rise, whatever, and they will normally allocate only 1 parking spot to an apartment which has square footage of nearly 900 to 1,000 square feet. I hear you in terms of your comment. I'm in the same boat as you were suggesting. Say I have a single dwelling house near Westney and Rossland, and I have 2 cars. So if I was buying or interested in buying a property or moving into this property as a renter or buyer, whatever the case may be, I personally would kind of not consider this one. I would scratch this off my list. So normally, and I know you made the comment about the pickup truck. If I had a pickup truck, I probably wouldn't be going in here. Right, so normally people will, and this has been a conversation that we've had as committee members with condo developers as well, to say, well, you're only going to allocate 1 parking spot, but that's what the bylaw says, and is that it needs 1 parking spot per dwelling. In terms of if I was going to have a ton of visitors, my visitors can't, and if they're going to stay overnight, they can't park on the street. Right, with the exception of, I guess you get your 10 parking spots through the town, whatever, for the full year, for 365 days. So it's not a lot that we're talking about, and it goes to the property, not the address. And there is no overnight parking, I'm assuming, in this area, just as there isn't in my part of North Ajax at between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. As well. So even the overnight visitors, bylaw, I don't want to say it protects you or people on the street. I know it doesn't, but it does mitigate it to some extent. But it's the exact same thing on my street and probably my colleagues' streets that people will park all the time. I have places, again, residences on my street that have 3-4 cars and on a 2-car driveway. And guess what? Most of the weekend, 3 of their cars are actually sitting outside on the street. So, we are a heavily populated city, but we're also, we have a very low or high or a shortage of housing, which is where the provincial government, like the stuff I was saying in my really boring monologue at the beginning, was that it's the provincial policy that is dictating not just the town of Ajax, but many municipalities within, or all municipalities within Ontario, to build faster and to build and encourage, to a certain extent, this type of densification.
And I understand that. But where I'm getting at is that this maximizes the smallest property size to maximize the biggest building that can possibly go on the smallest lot. And that causes concern to the whole neighborhood because of those reasons. Visitors, whatever, I understand that that happens, and it happens throughout all subdivisions, but you're putting now a single, in a single dwelling neighborhood, a fourplex with multiple cars. I don't even know how 4 cars fit on that lot to begin with. Never mind visitors, snow removal, all those things taken into consideration. And of course, okay, so the bylaw says you can't park it in the street, but what's going to happen? All those cars are going to park on the street. Everybody that comes to visit has to park on the street because there's no room on that thing.
Right. Just like they do when they visit my house.
Yeah,
if you
well,
came
it's
over
true.
to my house, you'd be parking on the street as well.
But we're talking about a fourplex.
Oh, I get your point. Absolutely. In terms of
Absolutely.
then times 4. I
I
get it.
understand that we have that. That happens all the time.
Yep.
We're talking about putting a fourplex in a subdivision that's normally just a single-family dwelling. And it doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. All right. Good evening to you, sir. I'll just get you, if you haven't already, just sign in.
I signed it already, yeah.
Okay. I'll start with your name.
My name is Anand Gogo. I live at number 6.
Okay. Good evening to you.
Mr. Chair and members, I appreciate what you're saying and what questions were asked before. Some of the questions we had in mind. As Wayne is saying, we've been here like 35 years plus, that house. Kids grew up there, everybody knows each other. And you're getting 4 different families coming into an area now. I mean, people move out, people come in. This hasn't been an established neighborhood for so long. And Mr. Patel talked about respecting the neighborhood character. That's not respecting the neighborhood character. That's just, I agree that we have to move on, that things change, but this is ridiculous. As I told Mr. Sam before in my letter, this is a monstrosity that's coming into our neighborhood. That's not, that, it doesn't even fit right in there. If you can tell me you build a 1 unit, that's great. I know people talk about, oh yeah, other people are renting the basement, but we know these people. We check them out, if that's what's happening. But 4 different families, 4 different people we don't even know coming here. And it's just disrupting everything that's going on in our little area there. How is he respecting the neighborhood character? By building that. I can't see it. All the other houses, that's where we started from. That's what we love. I think, as Wayne said, it's just greed, trying to get as much as you can from a small lot like this. You guys are talking about, yeah, everything about driving, neighborhood, but when we're living it, when this comes up and we're living it, what are you guys going to do about it? If we complain, it's already done. It's already going to happen. The things that we're bringing up, the snow removal and noise and honking and everything else, who's coming here?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for your commentary. I can confirm on behalf of the committee, we do have your correspondence with Mr. Sankey, forwarded that on to us as well, so we've all read through it. In regards to, and I know Wayne mentioned that as well, we've got snow removal, garbage pickup, all of that stuff goes through not this committee, right? We're here very specifically, in terms of our mandate, is looking at the 6 provisions that are actually, they're seeking variance from. And I'll repeat them in a minute. But in terms of garbage, snow, drainage, that all goes through the site plan application where, again, the technical folks, if you will take over between the architect for the client, in this case, I don't know if it's Mr. Patel or his firm, and the town of Ajax Planning Department, right? So they will actually manage, just like they do any other project in this town, they will manage through the site plan application all of those details in terms of how will drainage work, how will this, the snow removal. I do see, and you see it there as well, there is a touch, I'll call it a touch of green space there where you can, you could park snow. I don't know what their plan is, but again, that's where the site plan application comes in, because right now, if you look at this, it does, and again, if you remember, one of the my questions earlier, as soon as I read about this, was, my concern with snow as well, is like, hold on a second, there has to be a flat roof, because if it was gabled, you get even more accumulation around the property, right? So I don't know if that was one of the decision points, but Mr. Patel did address it to say we went with a flat roof rather than gabled, because we would like not to be even bigger than what this is, because if you actually then add another 20, up to 18 to 20 feet on a gabled roof, this thing would be even bigger, right? So I think when they're talking about character, yes, you have to kind of, be a little tongue-in-cheek on that one, because yes, they're trying to do certain things, but they're not going to be able to mimic 6 barns or 8 barns or 12 barns, because this is a different building. And again, like I was saying earlier, it is, and we've seen this, this may be the first one on your street, but we as a committee members, also Town of Ajax residents, and most likely homeowners for all of us, we see this as well all the time, where the town and the province is, the province is pushing every town and municipality on building more homes in less square footage, so that intensification, densification is happening. And that's what's happening in this particular project. We're looking at very specifically the maximum lot coverage, which again, when we look at this at a bird's eye view, just like you're seeing as over my left shoulder there, yes, it's a bigger property. So it's not the same as 6 barns. It's not the same as other properties based on what we're seeing. And it is going to have, if you're going to put four units, it will require more space, both from a parking perspective compared to bylaw or the zoning bylaw, and then same thing with the coverage of the full building. That's what we're here to look at specifically.
This is a lot that is being allocated before. This is not like a open space where you're going to put houses. This was already there. Something happened, the house there was demolished, and then you're changing everything. This is not like, okay, we have a new development somewhere. This has been developed. This has been established already.
Right.
So why is this being approved? Why is this being passed? I know you guys can't answer this right now.
So through the chair, I just want to speak to that. So I understand everyone's concerns about this being a significant change from what's in the neighborhood today, but there are as of right permissions to put 4 units on this property, as is the case for your property, their property, everyone on this street, if they meet certain zoning requirements. So earlier this year, council made amendments to our official plan and our zoning bylaw to allow up to 4 units on residential properties. And a lot of this is coming from the federal and provincial initiatives that are obligating municipalities to permit up to 3. However, a lot of municipalities went above and beyond that to show that we're committed to this housing crisis. So the town of Ajax, among like a lot of other municipalities in the GTA, permit up to 4 units on the property. So the variances here tonight being considered that the committee has a mandate to consider have nothing to do about the 4 units. That's permitted as of right.
What are the federal incentives?
Pardon?
What are the federal incentives?
Federal incentives, like to the municipality?
Yeah, that's what we read. There's federal incentives, and for you guys to approve certain things, the government, provincial, whatever. What are some of the
federal government granted money to all different municipalities for undertaking policy amendments, permitting new things.
So does the town of Ajax get anything? How are you?
All municipalities received funding from this. Not just the town, all municipalities.
Okay, my concern is, My fence runs right on number 4. And it's gonna be in the minutes or whatever. For damage to my fence, damage to my front property, who do I go to?
Yeah. So every property, when it's going through the site plan application, it is now, there is a document that's drawn up, and that's what the construction crew is supposed to follow. Town staff from a planning department will normally be there in terms of inspections, et cetera. So if there is any complaint during the construction process, you can file it with them right here at Town Hall. If there is any damage to you that you notice after, there is litigation that you can go through as well.
Why should I be going through that? Why? I'm not being asked for that.
Sure.
I'm living a normal, simple life that I'm comfortable with, and now you're telling me that I should be uncomfortable because somebody else is doing something to my property.
Yeah, I hear you. I'll give you an example. If my neighbor isn't building something like this, but it just decides that they're going to try to build a pergola or a gazebo close to their fence line, and it damages my fence, I'm in the exact same boat as what you've just described.
But I'll talk to my neighbor, I'll have respect, they respect each other, right? I'm building this now, so let's come together. If anything happens, I'm here to see about it. This is like a construction company, so somebody new is coming in. I don't even know who they are. Who's TT9? Who is whatever? Who owns this? I don't know.
And neither do I. And neither do I.
Really?
Right? Because ultimately, the ownership in this particular case, to us, based on what our mandate is, sir, it does not matter. And I'm not saying that to be rude. I'm just telling you as a matter of fact, it does not matter. It really is, there's an application, whether it's put in by, a pseudo company, whether it's put in by an individual, whether it's put in by, the new ownership group, I don't know. But ultimately, it comes down to we're looking at purely the objectivity of what's the project, what are they looking for, and, what's the public feedback.
Okay.
Okay?
One of the things.
And I'll limit this to your last comment.
Sorry?
I'll limit this to be your last comment.
My last one.
Okay? Yep.
I put in my letter, this is very petty. When they demolished the house, there was a lot of dust and everything that came up. My car had a lot of dust in it, and it's all like caked on. With the construction starting now, there'll be a lot more dust.
Yes.
So who's gonna pay for my car cleaning?
Nobody. Nobody on besides your pocket.
I just want to put it there. I just want to put it out. That's all.
No, I hear you, and I saw that in your correspondence as well. And I actually, I'll be very honest with you. I looked at it and I was like, I remembered because when I bought my house, and there was an empty lot right beside it.
Was it new construction?
It was new construction.
Yeah, mine's not. Oh, it's not.
But it was the same scenario, right? There's a new construction that's happening, and that new construction was kicking on stuff onto my property. But you know what? There's nobody for me to go to and knock on somebody's door to say, hey, listen, you're going to have to pay for my car washes for next 6 months while you're doing this. It's just not going to happen.
Did you laugh when you saw that?
Did I ask the...
Did you laugh when you saw that comment?
I smirked.
Yeah.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, only because I could relate. Good evening to you, sir.
Sorry, just gonna send.
Yeah, please do. Oh, Bernadette? Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, before our next public member makes his comments, I actually just wanted to circle back on the last gentleman. We do have the applicant on the line, and the comments respect to kind of being respectful during the construction process. We've had these discussions in previous meetings. It is an opportunity. We are in an open forum. I just want to acknowledge the fact that that's something that's very important to these folks, right? And so
Absolutely.
We have the applicant on the line or the agent on the line, and I would assume, and I'd like to say would be, in good form, that the applicant is taking note of the comments that are being shared by the public and your neighbors. These are folks that you will have to, engage with for X amount of years. And so obviously you'd want to preserve good relationships with these folks. And so I would hope that the applicant is taking these comments to heart and actually will make active remedies should something happen to the adjacent property, the neighboring property. Most especially, we've got 6. The gentleman, 6 Barnes is here. So it's just an opportunity to acknowledge the comments that have been made, but certainly to put the applicant on notice that, look, he's come forward, the committee has heard the comments, and it really is incumbent on you to take those and implement them where appropriate to preserve kind of the neighborhood, right?
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. And Mr. Patel, that's directed to you, obviously, so we'll assume that you're taking those notes.
Definitely, we took that note.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Definitely, we.
Definitely. Okay. Good evening to you, sir. Can I get your name?
Yeah, I'm Dave Forsyth. I live at 39 Angus.
Okay.
I'm going to circle back again. I know we've talked about parking a lot, but I want to just circle back to that one more time. I do understand that there are 4 parking spaces for 4 dwellings. However, 3 of the 4 parking spots are 5.5 meters. Are we planning on limiting what people can move into these places based on their vehicles? Because I own an F-150, and my F-150 will not fit in 3 of those 4 spots.
Right.
So anybody who moves into these places that has a larger vehicle is gonna have nowhere to park. That's why the minimum is 6.5 meters.
Right.
Because 6.5 meters accommodates probably 99% of your regular vehicles.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, though, what ends up happening is if you were looking in the market for a new place to stay and you have a Ford 150, you're not going to go look at this place. Or you will, and as soon as you see that that's a limitation, it'd be like, okay, no, sorry, this isn't going to work for me, and you're going to move on. And that's what normally happens. And we see this again, time and time again, in other projects as well. Whenever this bylaw is looking for relief, is we see that the tenant or whomever is moving in will not take the place. Just like if you had a family that requires 3 bedrooms and the place was only 1 bedroom, obviously you're not going to look at it, right? So that's normally what happens. So it kind of just self-filters itself.
But we're not talking about a 3-bedroom house. We're talking about the ability for people to park their vehicles that they own.
A vehicle, not necessarily.
A vehicle.
Right.
Like I said, the reason why it's 6.5 meters is so that you can park your vehicle in there no matter what it is. I can't park my truck in 3 of those spots. Now, we shouldn't be relying on people having common sense to not move in there if they have a large vehicle. The reason why it's 6.5 meters is because it will fit the vehicles. And we shouldn't be constructing something that does not allow for normal vehicles that people own to be able to park there.
Right. But
That's why it should be 6.5 meters.
Right. But that's why I think the town staff, the planning staff, has looked at that to say 5.5 meters will fit a vehicle, and a regular size vehicle, again, not an SUV or a pickup truck or anything that's on the bigger side, but they have looked at it, and that's what they've said to say, yep, okay, this could make sense. That's the bare minimum that we can go with, and that's what's being applied for here.
So we're talking about family dwellings though, right? That's the intent, is this is gonna be 4 family dwellings? And the expectation is that dwelling is only gonna have 1 vehicle. What are the chances that vehicle is gonna be a small car? If you're gonna have a full family living in a dwelling and they're only gonna have 1 vehicle, chances are it's gonna be a large one. And the large ones will not fit inside the garages that are pictured there.
Right. And this is where, again, we're all kind of guessing on this one. So the last comment I'll make is that then it's up to, the onus is on that family that's moving in to figure out, will this work for me, yes or no?
I think the onus should be on the city to approve a dwelling that they can actually fit the vehicles in.
Yes.
It's the city's responsibility to make sure that they approve a building that I can park my vehicle in. I don't have a custom vehicle. I have an F-150 that I bought off the lot. If I am moving into this location, I should be able to park it there. It's a normal sized vehicle. It's nothing crazy.
Right.
You're allowing them to build a smaller parking area so that they can build that structure in the back.
Right.
Because if you have 6.5 meters, you don't have the room anymore.
Right.
To build the building in the back.
No, you're
That's
right.
why they're asking for 5.5 meters. So
I'm just gonna jump in here.
Yeah.
So, sir, 6.5 meters is the minimum length for a parking space in a garage. All of our other minimum parking spaces are 5.5. They're just asking for 5.5 inside of the garage instead of 6.5. They could make the garage longer at 6.5, but then the area of the whole accessory building would go up.
Correct. Exactly.
This is the choice that they've made. You're
I don't
arguing
understand how the
variances at that
council can
point.
approve a building that won't allow for standard vehicles to be parked in it. It's too it's just too small. Anyways, thank you for listening.
Of course, thank you. Okay. Amanda?
Through the chair, is it possible to ask some questions of the applicant based on the conversation that we've been hearing?
I would say yes, absolutely. Mr. Patel, you're still there?
Yeah.
Okay, Amanda, go ahead.
Thank you. Could you confirm to us one of the parking spaces in the garage will have a depth of 6.5? It appears that way. Two of the spaces in the garage would have reduced depths, but one of them will have a depth of 6.5. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I have two more questions for you. In the garage, has there been any consideration for space for garbage, recycling, bicycle, any type of storage for these units as well?
We will see if we can fit the garbage on the 6.5 meter side. We would like to fit some garbage, but not the any kind of storage or anything else.
Okay. And one more question. Has there been any traffic safety consideration? So the driveway looks to be a width that would allow for one lane of vehicles. Has there been any consideration for the different units coming in and out into the parking space in the rear, that there would be any traffic safety concerns?
Yeah, so it is definitely hard to get more wider driveway. We definitely like to two car can go and come out, but here, as we see in the lot, it's very hard to get more wider lot, more wider driveway basically. If we do that, then house has to go more back, and then we have more setbacks and stuff like that. We have more than 6 or 7 times go back and forth with the city of transportation to make sure that we have sufficient setbacks between the house and the garage. And you can see that right now, like we have 9.02 meter between the garage and the house, so that car can come and go back basically very easily.
Through the chair to staff, Transportation Services has reviewed this and has no concerns.
Through the chair, that's correct. There was some shifting of the building originally, just so that there could still be auto turn to show that vehicles could reverse out of the garage and maneuver.
Okay, Ken?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the agent, is there going to be a basement underneath the primary building?
So none of the building has the basement.
No, none of the units will have a basement. None of the building structures, I should say. Bernadette?
Through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps maybe, and this is to staff. I know Transportation Services has taken a look at this and they have no comments to share, but perhaps you can educate me if this is not something that's done at this stage. But in terms of traffic or on-street parking impacts, has that been assessed given the increased number of units and the reduced on-site parking space dimensions? Is that something that's contemplated at this stage or perhaps at the building permit stage?
Through the chair, it's been considered already at this stage. Like Chair Ahmed has mentioned, the parking requirements are being met. Those are as-of-right permissions. And I do want to point out that this scenario is a lot better than someone taking an existing single detached dwelling and making it into 4 units, which is permitted. Because in that case, you would have a driveway that would just have the garage and a driveway and they'd all be tandem parking spaces. In this proposal, the person is actually trying to create separate parking spaces so you could maneuver around. There still is the ability to park a car in this area in between the garage and the triplex. So yes, there will be cars parking on the street. That's a given in any neighborhood. But I think the ability here with the extra driveway, the extra parking space between the garage and the building, you could even have vehicles in a short-term parking in that area.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, staff, for those comments. And I think that my initial question was really for the purposes of our audience, to make sure that, you know, we as a committee, as well as the folks who have created the staff report, have contemplated. So all the agencies and departments that need, you know, eyes on this have actually put their minds to what this means for the potential of this neighborhood. So I thank you for your comments.
Good point, thank you. Hi, good evening.
I just have one last question.
Sure, I'll start with your name, though.
It's Linda.
Linda,
And I'm
hi.
at 43 Angus. Is there going to be a plan to do all of the fencing all the way around?
I would think so, but I don't know what exists there today, so I'll look to town staff for that.
Through the chair, sorry, by fencing, you mean construction fencing, like during construction, or?
No, I mean when it's all done, because like at least 3 or 4 of us need to redo our fencing at the back within the next future.
Understood.
So it's joined, it's right on the property line.
Okay.
So I'm asking if they have a position to fix the fencing all the way around.
That would be entirely up to the owner of the property. That's not something we're looking at specifically in this case, because this isn't something that goes through site plan control. It's a freehold property. It just goes through a building permit. We don't have an obligation to say, you must fix that fence. So it would be up to the owner. Yeah.
It's a good question, though. Yeah. All right, is there anybody else that's here to speak either for or against the application? If we make it quick, yep.
Do I understand that part of this committee now is approving that the main building is being set back far enough for this building to be constructed?
Yes, can we
That's
just pull
part
up
of
page
the
one?
application here, is that it has to be set back in order for that driveway to give enough room to make a parking spot at the back of the property.
Through the chair, no, I can clarify that. So certain zones, this being one of those zones, has a minimum and a maximum front yard setback. In this case, this zone has a maximum. So it's saying buildings should be closer to the street. They can only be so far. In this case, with the pie-shaped lot and the type of building they want to design, they can't put it closer unless they do that projecting garage that all the other homes you see have. So because they're not doing that style, they're pushing the house further back. That's why they need a variance.
Okay, so so this committee is approving that variance to move that property.
They're
or
approving
that
if they approve it.
structure back in order to create that parking spot at the back, correct?
They're approving it a design, if they approve it, that would push the building back and not meet that setback.
Okay. All right, so in order, this building is being set back in order to create that driveway along that fence line or along that property line to be able to access the parking at the back.
For the most part, it has to do with that configuration.
All right, and then again, all the things that come involved with snow removal, everything that comes, this property is being set back to change the bylaw that's, whatever is, this committee has to change the bylaw in order to put that building back, in order to put that driveway in there. So, so they have to approve that so that that's driveway accesses a parking lot basically at the back of the property because the property is a pie-shaped lot.
Because of the shape itself,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Okay, so that's what you, okay. So
I think you know the drill by now.
So I'm writing my name down first.
I got it.
My name's Peter Carter,
Hi, Peter.
and I live at 45 Angus.
Okay.
And we've already talked about parking. I'm more for, what if there's a fire in that building in the back? Can the fire department get back there with their truck if they have to get back there?
Yep. So can I get you to just pull up town staff, AV, page 9? And I think my colleague Bernadette was trying to make this point earlier as well, and I think it's good for us to maybe just show it if we could just zoom in on that a little bit. So these are all the different departments within the town and its periphery that actually see exactly what you guys would have seen. to say, this is a project, this is what's happening. They actually see a little bit more because they get more details. And so design services made a comment. That's where the tree, I think, came in. Engineering services made a comment at the bottom in terms of sewer easement. So they've actually listed what either their concern is and how they want that mitigated. And this goes in as direction to the project people. Or they will tell you there's no comment, meaning we've looked at it, we've assessed it, in our professional opinion, there's no concern. So bylaw services right now, no concern. Transportation, none. Operations and environmental services, none. To your question, fire and emergency services, no concern.
So they have no concern about getting back there with all the cars that might be in that back lot?
That's right.
Through the chair, they would not have to ever take their fire truck down the driveway. They would pull up in front of the house. Yeah.
I get that, but I mean, like, if there's a bunch of cars in that laneway, then they've got to try to get all those hoses down there. That's what I'm looking at. And it's in further back from the road, whereas all the other houses are further closer, right? So when you're fighting a fire, you don't want to have to run all the way to the back of that building.
But if it's set back that way, that's what they would do.
I mean,
And there are other properties within the city, whether it be in the town or in the city of Toronto, that are built that way.
I get
right?
that, I understand
So,
that. But again, this is a single dwelling lot, and I know we've got to move forward, I get that. But, like, come on, like a 4-story building in a neighborhood like that, I know it's more of a permit thing than it is the variance of application. I'm just saying that.
no, I appreciate your
I'm
understanding.
looking for the future too, like, at some point, if I want to move away, who's going to want to move into where a fourplex is?
Yeah.
You know? So, that's it. That's all I
All
got.
right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Is there anybody else here to speak either for or against? Okay, any other questions or comments from committee? Okay, is there anybody online to speak either for or against? No? Okay, then I'll look for a motion. Okay, I'll put a motion in. I move that the committee approve application A3025 for 4 Barnes Drive, subject to the 5 conditions listed in the staff report on the basis that it is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests. Can I get a seconder? Bernadette? Any discussion on the motion? Okay, then I'll look for a vote. And the vote has passed 4-1, and it will now be subject to the 20-day appeal period that I talked about earlier. If you do need more information about that, you can reach out to town staff tomorrow as well. It is the Ontario Land Tribunal that governs the appeal process. So, Mr. Patel, your application is for 4 Barnes Drive has been approved at this evening's committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Right. Moving on to the next portion of our agenda, which would be other business or new business. No? Town staff, any new business, other business? Okay. Then I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Bernadette, see you first, seconded by Ken, is that okay? All right, all in favor? All right, motion is